Jay Gatsby is the man who threw the most extravagant parties, and no one really knew why. At first glance, he's got it all: the mansion, the cars, the champagne flowing like rivers, and a smile that looks like it was handcrafted by the American dream itself. But take a closer look, and you'll find something far more tragic: someone chasing a ghost in a pink suit. Gatsby wasn't born Gatsby. He was James Gatz, a poor farm boy from North Dakota who looked at the sky and decided he'd rather be a constellation. He reinvented himself from scratch. No rich family, no inheritance, just raw ambition, charm, and a willingness to do whatever it took, including crime. Organized crime, in fact. Bootlegging, shady deals, whatever paid for that mansion across the bay from Daisy Buchanan. On the other hand, there was Daisy. That's the heart of it all. Gatsby's entire empire, every sparkling detail, exists for one reason: to win back a woman he loved 5 years ago. A woman who now has a child and a husband. In a very comfy upper-class life built on inherited money and social status, two things Gatsby could only ever counterfeit. Gatsby stares across the bay at the green light at the end of Daisy's dock, night after night, like it's a beacon. Everyone shows up to Gatsby's parties: celebrities, bootleggers, bankers, flappers, but no one shows up for him. They come for the music, the mystery, the myth. They eat his food, drink his booze, and call him old sport, but no one knows the man behind the curtain. He's the loneliest host in literature, and when Gatsby finally gets Daisy back, it doesn't last. Turns out you can't repeat the past, no matter how many times you say you can. Daisy won't leave her husband Tom, who is awful but wealthy and powerful, and more importantly, part of her world. Gatsby can throw parties, but he'll never be one of them. Then comes the accident, a hit and run. This time, Daisy was driving Gatsby's car, and Myrtle Wilson was found dead. And Gatsby? He takes the fall willingly, because that's the kind of man he is. He dies waiting for a phone call from Daisy that never comes. Shot in his pool by a grieving husband misled by lies. And when he dies, no one shows up. Not the partygoers, not Daisy, not even the people who owed him everything. Just Nick Carraway, watching the dream die in silence. One day, Willie Loman walks in with a briefcase in hand and dreams in his eyes. That's the entrance of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, and things are already not looking good. Willie's a traveling salesman, but what he sells doesn't matter, because what he's really selling is himself, and business is not booming. He's exhausted, forgetful, and haunted by the ghosts of his own expectations. A man who once believed he could make it big just by being well-liked now finds himself drifting in and out of delusion, grasping at memories that never quite happened the way he remembers. His sons are grown, but not grown up. His wife loves him, but can't save him, and Willie is stuck in the past, chasing the American dream. At the heart of it, Willie Loman is tragic not because he fails, but because he believes he's failing at something that was never real to begin with. His eldest son, Biff, who was once a high school football star with scholarship offers and a fan club, now floats from job to job, disillusioned and angry. He catches his father in a lie, and that lie becomes a crack in the glass that never quite gets fixed. Happy, the younger son, is all performance and desperate for attention. He chases women and titles, but not meaning. Neither son becomes the golden boy Willie dreamed of, but that doesn't stop him from pretending. Willie talks to himself. He sees visions of his dead brother, Ben. That's the mythology Willie lives by. Jungle in, jungle out, rich. Except that never worked for Willie. The saddest part? He's not a bad man. He's not cruel or malicious. He loves his family. He wants the best for them. But love isn't always enough when it's tangled in disappointment. Linda, his wife, pleads with their sons, and she's right, because Willie is being crushed by the weight of his own illusions. His end is quiet, awful, and devastating. He takes his own life, thinking the insurance money will finally make him a hero to his family. That in death, he can give them what he never could in life. But all that's left is silence and a man who tried and fell short. A man who mistook being liked for being loved. Achilles lived as the greatest warrior of the Greeks. The guy with the killer heel. But before he was a metaphor for weakness, Achilles was the guy. Fast, flawless, furious. In Homer's Iliad, he's not just a soldier, he's a demigod, the living embodiment of rage. War is his language, and he speaks it fluently. But here's the tragic part. Achilles didn't want to be a hero. He was made into one. See, Achilles was given a choice. Live a long, quiet life in obscurity, or die young and go down in history as a legend. So off he goes to Troy, already a dead man walking, just waiting for the arrow that history promised. He knows the clock is ticking, and he's pissed about it. But the tragedy doesn't start with his death. It starts with his heart. Achilles isn't just a killing machine. He's a guy who loves too hard, sulks too deep, and feels everything like a storm. When Agamemnon, the Greek commander, steals Achilles' war prize, an enslaved woman named Briseis, Achilles doesn't just get mad, he quits, like full-on rage quits the Trojan War. Meanwhile, Patroclus is his closest companion, and it was only a matter of time before they all quit because without Achilles, they're toast. But Achilles won't budge until Patroclus, his soulmate and anchor, dies. When Patroclus puts on Achilles' armor to inspire the troops, he gets killed by Hector, Prince of Troy. And just like that, the rage comes roaring back, but this time it's grief wearing a battle helmet. Achilles goes wild as he slaughters Hector, drags his corpse around the walls of Troy for days. No mercy and no peace. But the moment he sees Hector's father, Priam, begging for his son's body back, Achilles breaks down because here's the thing. Achilles knows what it's like to lose someone. He sees himself in Priam, a father, a son, a cycle of grief spinning endlessly. And so Achilles, the butcher of Trojans, becomes human again for a moment. He gives Hector back. He weeps. And then eventually he dies after he was shot in the heel by Paris with the help of Apollo, because even gods get jealous of a guy like Achilles. His story ended with just a funeral, a legacy, and the faint sound of history whispering his name for thousands of years. From the very moment he slinks onto the page in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, every sweeping black robes and dark sarcasm you think screams villain. He hates Harry, bullies students, and hangs out in the dungeon brewing potions and seething with disdain. Classic bad guy behavior. And yet, by the end of the series, Snape is revealed not as a one-dimensional antagonist, but as one of fiction's most heartbreaking tragedies. Let's take a few steps back. Snape's not cool in any way. In fact, he's a poor, greasy-haired outcast from Spinner's End with a very awful childhood. His parents fought constantly as he grows up lonely, unloved, and obsessed with magic as his only way out. Then he meets Lily Evans, the lady who became everything to him. She's his light in a dim, miserable world, and for a time, she's his friend. Then Hogwarts happens. Lily goes to Gryffindor. Snape goes to Slytherin. He falls in with the wrong crowd. They laugh at Muggleborns, and Snape doesn't stop them. Lily pleads with him, tells him he's better than that, but the thing about Snape is that he's not brave. Eventually, he chooses dark magic, chooses power, chooses the people who at least pretend to respect him. And then one day, in a moment of humiliation, he calls Lily a mudblood, the worst insult, and just like that, he loses her forever. Years pass, and Snape joins Voldemort. It's what he thinks he wants, respect, fear, and purpose, but then he finds out that Voldemort is hunting the Potters, that he's going to kill Lily, and something in Snape shatters. He runs to Dumbledore and pleads that he would do anything, betray anyone, give up everything just to save her. He doesn't care about James. He barely cares about the baby. He just wants Lily to live, but unfortunately, she dies. And from that moment, Snape became a man living with a ghost. Every breath he takes is haunted by her absence. He becomes a double agent, playing one of the most dangerous roles in all of fiction, pretending to serve Voldemort while secretly working for Dumbledore. He's reviled by everyone, hated by the good guys, feared by the bad guys. No one trusts him. No one likes him, but he does the job anyways, because he must. Because he made a promise. Because Lily asked him to protect her son. Which brings us to Harry, the boy who looks like James but has Lily's eyes. Snape sees him and is instantly thrown into a world of pain. He loathes James but loves Lily. However, Harry's both. Every encounter is an emotional gut punch, so he keeps his distance. He lashes out and protects him from the shadows. Snape even saves Harry more times than anyone knows. He gives up everything, including his reputation, his safety, and even his soul for a child who will never know why. And then there's the moment. Dumbledore is dying, and he begs Snape to kill him, to spare Draco's soul, to keep Voldemort's trust. And Snape does it because he always does what must be done. And when Voldemort finally kills him, it's not in a blaze of glory. It happened in a brutal and cruel way. So Snape dies in a filthy shack, alone, bleeding out, whispering for Harry to look at him because those eyes are the last thing he wants to see. That's what he's fought for, and that's what he's died for. Michael Corleone is the quiet son, the war hero, the golden boy who wasn't supposed to get involved. That's the whole setup. That's the plan, and it's also the tragedy. At the beginning of The Godfather, Michael is the outsider. He's dressed in a military uniform as he sits at his sister's wedding like a guest at his own family's table. His tragedy starts with a hospital visit to his father. He's just trying to protect his dad, and then someone slaps him, literally. Then he snaps. Something cold and ancient wakes up behind his eyes, and suddenly this Ivy League kid is stuffing a gun behind a toilet and shooting a cop in the face. That's the first moment. After that, there's no going back. He flees to Sicily, marries a woman who explodes, and returns home to a family that now needs him to lead. So he becomes Don and marries Kay, takes care of business as he manipulates and kills because he believes it's necessary, and that's what makes him so compelling. Michael never wants power the way others do. He sees it as a burden, a curse, but he takes it anyway, and then he makes the choice, the one you can't come back from. He has his own brother killed. Let that sit for a second. He has Fredo taken out on a boat and shot in the back of the head while their mother is still alive. And Michael, he sits alone, staring at nothing, surrounded by everything he's built, and it's so quiet. But Michael's tragedy doesn't stop there, because the world keeps spinning, he gets older, and the weight gets heavier. He tries to get out and starts donating to the church, tries to buy legitimacy, and tries to atone for his sins, but it's too late. Every step toward redemption drags him deeper into hell. His daughter's murdered in front of him. She dies in his arms, making it the final cost of the life he chose. He tried to protect his family, but in the end, he destroyed it. And how does Michael Corleone die? In the dirt, all alone. The old man slumped in a chair as a fallen king in exile, haunted by everything he thought he was doing for love. Once upon a chivalric dream, Sir Lancelot rode into legend on a white horse, gleaming sword in hand, every bit the perfect knight. Because Lancelot, for all his sword-swinging greatness, loved the one woman he absolutely should not have loved, Queen Guinevere, his best friend's wife, King Arthur's wife. You don't need a degree in medieval ethics to see where this is going, but let's rewind a bit. Lancelot wasn't just some lovesick himbo in chainmail. He was the knight. He defeated armies single-handedly. He saved maidens. He battled dragons, giants, sorcerers, you name it. People wrote songs about him. He was the guy. Loyal to Arthur, sworn to Camelot, destined for greatness. And then there was Guinevere. Smart, fierce, and beautiful. Just as bound by duty as Lancelot, but just as human. Their love was doomed before it began, and still they fell in secret, because when you're living in a world built on honor, one misstep doesn't just cost your reputation, it collapses a kingdom. Lancelot's affair wasn't just gossip fodder, it was the atomic bomb of Camelot. Arthur, the noble king caught in the middle, had to choose between justice and mercy, law and love. Lancelot, torn between his loyalty to Arthur and his love for Guinevere, tried to juggle both and lost everything in the process. Once the golden boy of the Round Table, Lancelot became its undoing. Friends turned into enemies, battles broke out, and Camelot crumbled into war and ruin. And Lancelot? He didn't get the girl, and he didn't get the glory. He ended up in a monastery. The once great warrior traded his sword for a robe, and spent the rest of his life atoning for sins he could never fully erase. Guinevere became a nun, and Arthur died in battle. Meanwhile, Lancelot's tragedy isn't that he was flawed, it's that he was human in a world that demanded perfection. He loved too deeply, betrayed too greatly, and paid the price over and over again.